In the past 2 years, my brother and I have lost both of our parents unexpectedly. When you lose a loved one, especially a parent, it is devastating. It humbles you, and it can also be very isolating, especially when people avoid the topic. Because when your loved one dies, your world stops, but the world around you keeps going. How can you support someone in their darkest time? How many of us have been in the position where you don't know what to say to a grieving friend or a loved one, where someone you know has experienced heartbreaking loss and you start thinking, well, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I don't want to remind them of their loss. And then you end up saying nothing and miss out on the opportunity to help that person when they might need you most. Or maybe you worry about the scenario where if you choose to say something, what happens? You end up just saying what we've all shared during a difficult time. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thoughts and prayers. Or let me know if you need anything. I created this video as a resource to share lessons learned from experiencing grief firsthand, and more importantly, what you can do and say to help someone feel supported, feel comfortable, and feel uplifted when they are dealing with significant loss. One of the best things you can do is to start by simply acknowledging their pain. Most people are good at this. They reach out when they hear the news. If you're uncomfortable or unfamiliar with grief and fear the idea of triggering someone by bringing it up, don't act like it didn't happen. Prior to losing my parents, I realized I avoided the conversation out of fear of triggering someone, and now understand I failed every single person that was grieving. Instead of avoiding the topic, recognize the fact you know. For example, you could say, hey, I heard the news. How are you handling everything? Or, I can't imagine what you're going through. Or if it's an option, just give them a hug. This simple acknowledgement helps alleviate any awkwardness by letting the person know they're not alone in this journey. And if they're in pain, let them be in pain. Let that discomfort exist. Let them feel witnessed by simply listening to what they're sharing. If you've gone through similar loss, feel their pain first before you try and fix it. I've heard many well-intentioned comments from people that support us, like they're in a better place. You need to keep busy. Don't worry, it'll get better with time. While the intention is pure, these comments can almost be a form of dismissal of the pain someone is feeling. And if you're completely uneasy about bringing up the topic, or maybe that person needs their own space because some people, they're not ready and they're not responding to your efforts when you check in, simply send them a message, a text, an email, maybe even write them a card and mail it to them, and just let them know you're thinking about them. And when you're approaching others, ask first, talk second. Because it is not about what you can say to the person, it is about the space you can create for them to share something personal by asking meaningful questions. If you want to support them, ask for their permission first by simply saying, hey, do you want to talk? This is important because some people might not be ready to open up about their grief. If they do invite you in, follow up with questions that allow them to share. I believe one of the best questions you can ask someone that is grieving is one I shared in a previous video on this channel. What do you want me to know about them? What do you want me to know about what you're going through? These questions are powerful invitations for the person to share something personal about their experience. And once they've had a chance to open up and share the difficult parts of grief, you could follow up with, tell me what gives you comfort right now. This is a valuable statement and question because instead of saying, let me know if you need anything, don't wait for them to tell you what they need because they won't. They have enough to worry about. But by understanding the specific things that bring comfort, you can then take action. Maybe it's getting groceries. Maybe it's picking up and dropping off the kids at daycare. Maybe it's just sitting together in silence. Whatever it is, allow that person to share what would benefit them most, and when you learn that, do it for them. And how you show up is huge, especially after the first wave, because the initial wave of support after somebody dies is extremely comforting, especially when you're dealing with fear, maybe denial or anger behind the loss. My brother and I were fortunate to have immense support leading up to the funeral of both of our parents, and then have continued support from friends and family after. But the weird part of losing someone is after the funeral, most people carry on with their regular lives. They have their routine, they have their set of responsibilities to take care of. If you want to truly be there for someone, stick around after the first wave, because while death is a date on the calendar, grief is the calendar. There are moments where I felt at peace, and then all of a sudden I'm ugly crying while walking the dog. Your consistent support, weeks, months, even years later of checking in, maybe taking them out, or just sitting and listening to them can be helpful after that initial wave of support fades. And remember the power of touch. During the COVID pandemics, touch and sensory deprivation, we lost hugs, we lost high fives, handshakes, they became obsolete. But the power of touch has been scientifically proven to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and depression. If they cry, reach out, give them a hug, hold them, rub their back. I'll never forget sobbing at Mom's funeral and then having my wife just reach out and rub my back. She did it for my brother too, and it made a world of difference. These gestures of touch and kindness will go a long way in lifting somebody up. You can't talk somebody out of their pain, but you can sit with them in it. Acknowledge what they're going through. Embrace the silence that might ensue and ask them questions. Even if you're afraid of the answer, ask the questions. But above all, feel their experience instead of projecting yours on them. Holidays, birthdays, and anniversaries, they'll all be tough, but so will any random day. And if you want to help a grieving loved one, be courageous for them. Be consistent, but be willing to join them on their journey. Grief may be universal, but the experience is unique for each person. These are some ideas that help me, and it may be very different for you. If you've lost a parent or loved one and are watching this, tell me, what helped you with your grief? What type of support did you appreciate the most? I invite you to share your personal experience and what helped in the comments below. Thank you for listening to this.